forget, and I'll start my timer on file select. I'm like, no, that's not right. That is definitely not right.
Okay, if you're ready, KB. Right on. Okay, I'll do 3, 2, 1, go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome everybody to Donkey Kong Country 2, starring our dear friend KBZ. So what you're going to see is in the first 2 worlds, it's going to mostly make use of warp barrels with a few exceptions. You're still going to warp through every level, but there's your basic warp, which you'll see here in level 1-1. And then there's going to be the wrong warp, which we'll talk more about in 1-2 when it comes up. So you see just easy hidden warp barrels throughout. You're going to see in this next level, though, KBZ is going to be attempting what's called a wrong warp. It saves kind of minimal time here in this level, and the other level you use it in World 1, which is World 1-5. But what he's going to do here is he's going to cause 2 objects to collide, creating an invisible object, and he's going to wait for the correct ID, which happens very quickly, as you can tell, and it spawns an invisible barrel, or it spawns a barrel. It was invisible. And what that does is it kind of confuses the game, and it just kind of throws you out. It's like, okay, you're done, move on, get out. So, yeah, pretty simple trick to get the hang of, kind of difficult to execute in other stages. What you just saw there at the end of 1-3 is called a goal swap. Certain things trigger what's called the aerial flag, and it allows you to, when you hit select over the goal, it basically acts like whichever Kong is behind has fallen down onto the goal, causing you to kind of trigger that ending. There's actually a lot to talk about in the first few worlds here. You saw him kind of attempt to do a jump there. We call that luckjaw because it's really tight. You can't hit the walls as you're falling down that narrow corridor. Otherwise, you won't get it. It's a tough jump. And so he just had to do it the normal way. Here you're seeing 2 tricks here. There's the Radley double jump, which he got first try. It's using kind of select inputs very, not quite frame perfect, but very close together to get some extra height and do a double jump with Radley. And then you saw another wrong warp, which the initial setup did not work, but there's fortunately a nice little backup that still allowed him to do that pretty quickly. So after all that, after that nice rush, we're on Crow, the first boss, probably one of the biggest sources of RNG in this game, one of the few sources of RNG in this game. As you can see here, you can either get 0 eggs, or what we call 0 fakes, where the eggs fall right away, or you can get what KBZ here has, and it's an eternal hell of eggs. I was busy talking, I don't know how many fakes that was. That was at least 4 or 5, right? There it is. Oh my gosh. So that's what Crow can do to you. He could take what was a pretty respectable World 1 and suddenly if you're doing an RTA attempt, you're like 25 seconds behind. So right here is a different style of wrong warp. Still same effect in the end, but this one, instead of clashing 2 beetles or 2 objects like that together, is taking a clobber, kind of colliding him with another object to grab the invisible barrel. Ooh, we did the 2-1 jump. And it kicks him out of the level once again. So the 2-1 jump is a pretty tight trick where you basically, when you team up, you try to jump and team up essentially at the same time. And if you do it right and you get the, your frame perfect inputs right, then you actually store a jump and do basically 2 jumps at once, and you gain the height of 2 jumps. So right there, he tried to do what's called the big boy. It's when you kind of throw Dixie at an enemy, and then you do a jump, and you can do a second jump. And that would be a shorter way to get to that warp barrel. Unfortunately, did not get it. It's a pretty tight window. Not a difficult trick, but a tight window, nonetheless. And here comes the only level in which you hopefully hear the fanfare outside of bosses. All right, so now that I've had a moment to catch my breath, let's talk about our runner KBZ here. KBZ is a very, very talented Donkey Kong runner. Pretty elite times in all 3 of the SNES games. I think he's got like a 33-1. He's got like a 41-04 in this game, and a 49-24 in DKC3, which is one of the best collections of trilogies like times there is. I think Void is up there as well. When you think about people, Canis is another one, 2 of the people who participated in the relay at AGDQ. So he's very, very talented, and you'll see that in the next 2 games. little bit of a break here. I think you'll see a goal swap here again. So getting shot out of a warp barrel, teaming up and throwing into a barrel, doing things like that set this airborne flight that allow you to do goal swaps. So this is Cleaver. The luck with this fight isn't quite as impactful. It really just comes down to where the cannonball drops. Sometimes you'll get very fortuitous spawns. It'll be like literally right next to him. Sometimes you get way back by the ledge, like that. And now he's going to go for a trick called Lava Fly. This is very, very tight. Ooh, and he decides to bail out, which is not a bad call. So the thing about this game is there's a lot of very risky tricks with little payoff. If KBZ had gotten Lava Fly, he would have saved about 4 seconds. If he had missed it, he lost a minute. So there's some trade-offs here, and if you're not comfortable, it's best to just play it safe and not worry about it. Ooh, there goes Dixie. Fortunately, that's not too terrible. In the grand scheme of things, it was on the final hit, and he wants Diddy for the next level anyways. Like, the first thing you do when you enter 3-1 is to switch to Dixie, or excuse me, switch to Diddy. And so all he can do is skip switching, and there's a DK barrel he can choose to grab at this pretty close to the start of the level. So we're done with warp barrels. There's still wrong warps to be had, but no more warp barrels. We're getting into the meat of the game here. So he's going to skip that barrel, which is understandable. There's one that's a little bit more convenient later on. See? Oop, did not ditch. He decided to go for the bonus coin there. Decided to get a little bit more on that percentage counter. You can get off Ramby before you get there and save just a little bit of time. So what you saw there is he threw Dixie into the barrel, and that's going to set up a trick called the super jump here. He's going to take damage intentionally off this cloak, and it's going to shoot him pretty high up into the air and allow him to skip over the blast barrel. That's really low. Is he good? He's good. Whew, it's not a difficult trick. It's one of the first tricks that most people will learn when they run this game. But it looked a little low to the ground there. So Glimmer's Galleon is annoying. I think that's the word I'm going to go with. It's annoying. It's a pretty simple level in concept, a very difficult level to optimize when you're at the top level. Mostly because you want to try and avoid touching corners, touching boxes, touching anything as much as possible. It just kills your momentum and slows you down. It's very easy to lose a lot of time here. Had a little bit of a rough start, but and by rough start I mean he probably lost like a fraction of a second. I mean, nothing terrible here. But you see he's kind of hitting some of these corners, bonking a little bit, and it's slowing him down just a little bit. But it's one of those things that adds up as you go along. See if he's going to go for the Kipple swap or if he's going to switch underwater. He's going to take a hit there instead. I wonder if that's new strats. I actually don't know. So the next level, very, very recently, in the last like 2 months, kind of received an update. And, oh no, because he's just going to grab the barrel right here. There's a new wrong warp in this level that actually came about since the last time I ran this game, which was like in February, so it's not like it was that long ago. But new wrong warp in this level, kind of based off this just entirely new method which we had never seen before, and it's so very just bizarre. So he's gonna team up here. It took him a long time to find a good setup for this. He's gonna take the damage. There he goes, just like that. And I'm not too privy to the details of this. Like I said, it came about after I kind of stopped running the game for a while, but I think it has to do with when you throw Dixie and like the Cutlass's swords, where they are in their animation, and for whatever reason it just really confuses the game. And it's like I said, they went through a lot of iterations of that. It used to be like either frame perfect or 2 frames, really, really small window, to now, unless they found an even better setup, it's like 26 frames, so almost half a second of leeway to get that. So it came quite a way in a short period of time. That's a pretty easy trick to get as far as tech in this game goes. So Rattle Battle, not too much here. It's not a terrible stage. I think the difficulty lies in understanding Rattly's terrible hitboxes, which you kind of saw an example of just a few seconds ago. But gets past this guy, yeah, without a lot of issue. There's a nice little hidden barrel here. You can goal swap still because that barrel is in the air. And we're on to I don't even remember the name of this level. I'm gonna be honest. I'm so bad about this because when you play on the Japanese versions, I just lose track of all the names. Slime Climb. That's what this one is. Slime Climb. So there's another wrong warp here. There's a super jump. First of all, see right there. That's done by swapping in the water with one Kong still above water. So he's gonna do another wrong warp setup. It's really nice with Dixie. Dixie's pretty easy to set up with, but if you fall here and kind of when you get to the last banana, you turn left and throw. Very important, the turn left part. If you don't, then you do not get the wrong warp. Your ID is not set up properly. But gets it. Slime Climb is probably the first, I'm going to say second, the second big trick you want to learn when you're learning this run. Because I don't think things like, super jump in the first level of this world is a huge trick. It's a nice little time saver, but yeah. So this is some other new tech to save a little bit of time. You take that intentional damage and skip some of the barrels. What that doesn't allow us to do, there's a little bit of a trade-off. What we used to do is we used to take damage here off the bramble when we had both Kongs and use iframes to skip through that B. But I think the net time gain is just enough to make it worthwhile doing the tech that KBZ did. So now we're going to see vine clips, hopefully. Well executed. So there's a small gap in the vines in which you can actually throw your Kongs through, but it requires you getting that big boy and jumping up into that precise spot, because if you're too far one way or the other, you can take damage, you can just not get it. You can also not jump high enough if you don't do the big boy right. There's a lot of ways that trick can go wrong, but it's pretty great because you skip a lot of endgame maze or end of level maze. So this is Cudgel. Not a lot here. The best thing you can really do is what KBZ's doing here, and he's going to stand put, let the camera kind of lock into place, and as Cudgel starts to fall, he'll walk away and save just a couple of frames, half a second or so, to instead of walking away and throwing the barrel. And how they kind of determine what to do, because Cudgel falls faster and faster for the most part, is they'll take a look at some part of Dixie's animation, whether it's her hair moving up and down, like her mouth, like taking breaths. Depends on what you can see, how you do the setup. But KBZ gets the first part with ease. Like I said, it's a minor time saver. It's another one of those trade-offs, because if you get hit, if you break your barrel and lose a cycle, it's obviously way more time lost. But it looks like KBZ, he's at least going for 4 of them. These last ones are a good bit faster, so I'm curious to see if he's going to go for them as well. Six for 6. That was well done. Good Cudgel fight. So World 3 was a nice kind of introduction to non-warping speed tech in this game, movement tech, all that kind of stuff. World 4 definitely ramps it up. Hornet Hole is kind of a considered a bridge level. It's definitely not like free. It's not a free level, but it's not difficult compared to what's coming up. Mostly around these honey jumps. Jumping on honey is incredibly frustrating. It's it's very difficult to do optimally. So now you're going to see a trick called Scrolly Scroll, and he's going to jump on the hook and the spider at the same time. It's going to kind of cause the game once again to freak out, and you see he's kind of off to the races here. And then one more little super jump there to save just a little bit of time. But yeah, Scrolly Skull is a really nice little trick. You use it. That's the only time you're going to see it in this run. You'll see it in other categories as well, in some of the bonus levels. But yeah, overall, very nice Hornet Hole. And, after all that talk about ramping up the difficulty, I forgot about this level, which is just a nice, comfortable auto-scroller in the theme park. There's a little bit of tech to this level, but it's mostly just an auto scroller. You're going to see a lot of times you'll see two sets of flitters, those dragonfly enemies. Sometimes you can skip over one, or you can skip over the only one and just jump straight onto the next cart. But for the most part, it's a pretty typical auto scroller. You see there, he jumped over that one flitter straight into the midpoint / cart. Oh, he's going for even more percentage points there with that DK coin. How are you guys doing? You guys having fun today with this marathon? Enjoying some good runs?
Is that a cue for me to read a donation? Because it sounds like a cue for me to read a donation.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Moondino donates $5.73, an annoyingly specific number, saying SGDQFP represent.
Thank you, Moondino. I will now have to perform math on that incredibly awkward number. I hope you're proud of yourself.
So, at the end, KBZ showing off a little bit, going for that swag balloon. Alright, so here we have the Brambler, as it's belovedly called, Bramble Scramble. So this wrong warp setup is a little tricky, a little trickier than some of the ones before it. I'm curious to see if KBZ's a corner boy. I'm going to find out with the rest of you guys. Yep, he's going to take the safety corner there. So it's a very difficult trick. Instead of clashing off of two beetles, or a clobber and a chest, two very visible, tangible points of reference, you basically have to wait till Dixie turns around on the Bramble to throw to do the clash off the vine. And so it's not unheard of. This is something I did. A lot of runners do, is to kind of stand on that edge, because for whatever reason you can actually, it's not rounded. It's almost like a step. You're basically on a step when you're on that corner of the Bramble. And so it allows you to give a little bit of time to set up and make sure you're in the right spot for the clash. It's very nice, and makes it a lot more consistent. Hey guys, there's another auto scroller. Not much going on here as well. The only tricky part is number 2 guy. If you don't move through the level optimally, then you could actually bounce off of him and into a pit, or you can actually jump on him and then still fall into a pit. But that's done. We're on to Mud Hole, which I would say is a nice culmination of everything you've learned so far. There's a lot of difficult movement. There's a wrong warp. It's a very, very tricky level to get done optimally. You'll see him there kind of toy with the death plane, roll under some of these platforms and into the marsh. This is a tricky movement section, dodging all the little vultures and not rolling so you pick up too much speed. There's a lot going on there. So now we're kind of up on the wrong warp here shortly. This one has a really, really difficult setup. It's very akin to riding a bike in my mind. It's very, very difficult to grasp, to understand the timing, the location, and all that. But once you get it, it's very difficult to fail. So the important thing to note, I'm not going to get like too detail heavy. Those first 2 beetles need to be on the screen when you throw the cannonball, but the 3rd beetle cannot be loaded yet. Otherwise, your IDs are not going to line up. Fortunately, KBZ, being the expert that he is, gets it first try. But like I said, it's one of those tricks that, you know, it can be really difficult to grasp, really difficult to understand the timing and when to do it. But once you get it, it's pretty easy to remember. So there's another big boy there. Very important one to get is it skips a lot of the difficult parts of this level. And the backup's a little frustrating to get as well. So KBZ gets it. He kind of waits to skip the B so he can do this super jump here. And overall, it was probably a slight loss. Maybe saved, maybe about broke even. So here we have Ramby. He's just gonna run for a while. He's gonna do his thing. And he's gonna try a Ramby jump here. Gets it, so he dodges that barrel and taking time to go through that animation. Now we're on to the king. Popular DKC meme is "Don't sleep on the king." This boss is pretty simple, but pretty easy to mess up. This hitbox is obviously not very large, so it's very easy to mess up. It's very easy to get slightly out of position to take damage or be too low and you don't hit him. But so far, KBZ handling this like a... No, never mind. I'm not... There's no commentator's curse because I'm with you guys. I see it as it happens on the Twitch stream. I'm not taking credit or blame for that. Anyways, it's not a huge deal. He's unfortunately going to lose a little bit of time in the next level because he's going to have Dixie here. Oh my goodness. All right, if he dies, I will take the blame. But he gets through it. He gets through it fine. So while we're waiting, I'll talk a little bit. So you see, he entered the level with Dixie. He leaves the level with Dixie. There's it maintains the order of your Kong, which is something important to know if you run multiple games, because in DKC3 it does not do that. It keeps track of which Kong is which. So if you take damage, you know, if you have Dixie in front and you take damage, then you have Kitty when you end the level. So it's a very important thing to remember. It's not common to trip up people, but it definitely has happened before. Not getting a Kong you're not expecting. So this is World 5. You know, you take another step up in difficulty. Oh, do you have another donation to read?
Yeah, sure. I'll read it now while I'm like trying to key the numbers in. Slightly less awkward number donated $14.27 and said, put it towards playing Sonic in Sonic 2. Because while I do want to even out the overall tracker, I couldn't resist the urge to make both halves of that bid war awkward to work with. Fuck you. But thank you. And Nixus donates $1.24. With the comment, knuckles and 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 knuckles. Thank you, Nixus.
Sounded like you were chanting there after a while.
I got into the zone.
That's somebody was thinking that we were gonna get some Texas speech going on here.
And I think after that calculation, Sonic is still winning that donation incentive. Sorry, Nixus. Now, if you excuse me, I have to do math. So carry on.
So hey guys, it's another auto-scroller. This one has a little bit more interesting tech to it, at least from if you're really into the big details of a game. You're gonna see KBZ hopping up and down slopes, saving time. It's very well routed out which barrels you need, which barrels you don't need. And yeah, you know, you jump through the doors to save frames. This is a level where you're not going to lose, like, you know, 40 seconds on it if you're not doing everything optimally, but you're gonna be able to distinguish a really, really good runner from, you know, just a pretty good runner. Basically, you're going to be able to know the difference between KBZ and myself by watching this level. Then there's my friend Haunted Hall B. For whatever reason, jumping over Haunted Hall B is very difficult, and he likes to damage runners. which is, again, just a minor inconvenience. There's not many opportunities to take damage here, and a DK barrel is pretty early on in the next level. Yep, handled like a pro. So up next is Gusty Glade. It's what I think my opinion on this level is, when you're learning this game, it's very frustrating. It's very difficult. There's a lot of things that can go just terribly, terribly wrong. But it's probably one of my favorite levels to actually just work out and practice, because it takes this awful, horrible gimmick level and makes it kind of fun. Especially some of the tech. This isn't new tech. It's maybe a year old. But you used to have to just swap to Dixie near the end and kind of glide through the rest of the level. But taking this concept of a goal swap, you see he's going to throw Dixie into this barrel, and that's going to give the airborne state needed. So you're going to actually just roll through this level with the end of the level with Diddy very, very quickly, and you're going to save time by being able to goal swap at the end. And that's very convenient for this next level where you want to be Dixie. So if you guys have never seen a DKC2 run, you're in for a treat. This level is very, very fast. It takes a very, very slow level. It makes it very, very fast. Normally you have to ride our dear friend Purple Parrot here all the way down, but instead it's just carefully routed out. Fortunately, that's not the end of the world. He is going to take this next part a little... No, he's not going to take it slow at all. He's got a nice backup in place here. All right, I think he's going to take this one slow, though. Nope, KBZ proves me wrong. He is just going all in on this level. Holy crap. That was impressive. That was very, very, very impressive. So let's see if he can close it out here. Yep, looks good so far. And he's out. Wow. That was really, really, really well done. And that's a sign of someone who's very good at this game and has been doing it for a long time, knowing when you make a mistake like he did, how to recover from it, what can you do, what can you not do. That was really, really well done. I'm actually quite impressed. The Webwoods, it's a pretty difficult level. Not gonna put it any other way. It's probably, I don't know if I'd say top 2 or top 3 most difficult level, right up there with Toxic Tower for sure. Just requires mastery of Squitter, mastery of just knowing where every enemy in this level is, knowing how the webs work, knowing when you can make tight jumps like that. Oh my goodness. Knowing how to do damage boosts like this. Overall, so far, well done. I mean, there's a little bit of trolling that could happen, I guess, but pretty clean effort here from KBZ and Webwoods. So now we're into Creepy Crow. Not quite as random as his undead friend, but still not really a friendly boss at all. And there's a prime example. So the barrels can spawn either on the left side, the middle side, or the right. And unfortunately spawn far away from Crow, which loses a little bit of time. Let's see how we do here. Oh, yo, nice. Left side again. That's fantastic. See if we can go 3 for 3 and just really hate the bird. Oh, that was close. But yeah, there's just some minor optimizations as far as, fighting the boss goes. He's going to line himself up here. Yo, 3 for 3 on the left side. That's fantastic. Everybody give it up for our boy Crow, who in life and death wants to just make everybody's life awful.
Hope you enjoyed that.
Thank you. I do. I much appreciate it. Exactly what I needed. So here we go. World 6. This is the land of just really frustrating levels. There's a lot of other than Toxic Tower and Chain Link Chamber, it's not a lot of just huge, enormous time losses. It's just a bunch of optimizations and very difficult to just get really good at these levels. So I'm curious. This is just so many new strats in the last year. I'm very curious to see how KBZ is going to approach this level. I don't know if he is a believer in the Church of Diddy Windy, but there's actually some new strats in Windy Well that are actually quite difficult. So if he didn't go for them in a marathon run, I wouldn't be surprised. But given how KBZ has been doing this run, I don't know anymore. Nope, he's going to go for a standard Windy, which is fine. Diddy Windy relies on some big boys. You actually can't see your Kongs for a little bit of time. And the level is just overall a little bit more difficult to do. Standard Windy is already kind of tricky. It's not a killer like Webwoods or a Toxic Tower, but it definitely has some tricky things like kind of slipping under some bees, slipping past some crooks that we're going to see in a couple seconds. Just it's a carefully routed out level. Ooh, that's not the worst thing. He's going to have to take this next part a little bit differently because he's going to actually need the Kong barrel here. And I don't know if he's going to be able to switch his order. Yeah, he's okay. So that's what he's going to do. Still pretty quick. So you take a damage boost off that bee to skip just a little bit of the level. You want to maintain Diddy in front just because you want Diddy in front for the next level and you want to have both Kongs for the next level. So we're coming up on probably the most difficult part of the level. It's called for a long time called Ghetto Bees. Slipping under. So he skips one. He goes under 2 bees in one cycle. It's actually very tight. Requires just tight movement. From running off the ledge and where you jump to making sure you slide under the bees without kind of overdoing it and running into the 3rd bee. So overall, very well done, Windy. Recovered from his mistake quite nicely. And that's important because here in Castle Crush, we have a nice, really long auto-scroller that we want to skip. So just a little bit before we get to the actual trick, the setup is you need both Kongs alive. There's only one DK barrel before the point of the trick. It's right there. Hello, DK barrel. And we're going to guard it with our lives. So if he had lost Diddy, or he only left the level with 1 Kong in Windy Well, he would have had to go back into Arctic, which I believe is slightly faster to do, and get a barrel, and get a Kong. So you can have both here. So for now, I'm just going to enjoy the nice castle music and wait till we get close to the trick. Oh, so that's unfortunate. That's a pretty big time loss. There's no other way to spin that. So now you see an example. You have to go back into Arctic. Well, so yeah. So now we just get to replay this again. Fortunately, this is actually still probably faster than just doing the level normally. That is how long this glorious and wonderful auto-scroller is. So let me ask you guys this. Who is your favorite Kong and why is it Dixie? Goldfish knows what's up. Kirby fan has a pretty bad opinion there, but you know, that's how it goes. All right, we're coming up here on the trick. So what's going to happen is going to be another clash. He's going to hold an invisible object and then take damage. And what that's going to do is the theory is that it basically makes the level think it's slowing down, which makes the game think the goal should be there. Because the only time this really slows down is when you're approaching the end. So that's the theory. I don't know if that's been proven true or not. That's exactly just triggers. That's why it triggers the goal to come down, because the slowing down of the platform aligns with when the invisible object is essentially the trigger as the level is slowing down. And Lanky Kong is definitely not right. Oh my goodness gracious. Cranky's alright. Especially in the modern game in Tropical Freeze. So this is Clappers. Really the only tech is what you just saw there a few seconds ago. He's going to throw Dixie to the right and just going to actually have her kind of warped up on top. And that's really nice because it gives you a lot of window to try and reach the end throughout the invincibility barrel. Alright, Chainlink Chamber. This is another wrong warp level. It is a very frustrating to learn setup. It's not quite like Mudhole, where it's like, riding a bike. Once you get it down, it's pretty hard to forget. This is actually pretty tricky. I feel like I have to go through every time I de-roster, do whatever with this game. It takes me a while to get it right. So let's see. All right, KBZ played it a little bit safe and still was not able to get it. And that's just what I'm talking about. There's a lot of ways this trick can go wrong. Essentially, what you're looking at is going down at an angle. You're not going to try and hug the wall. You can go down at just enough of an angle to get the IDs loaded properly. And then you have to do the clash. You have to throw it at the right time. There's just a lot of components to this trick. There you go, second try. Not bad. So it's about 20 seconds lost, if I remember correctly, per fail attempt. And probably a little bit more because he had that little mishap where the ball fell after taking out the crook. All right, so this is Toxic Tower, and what makes this difficult, well, the whole level is pretty difficult, but you're seeing just a series of double jumps, and these are really precise inputs, and there's various types of double jumps. There's ones that get a lot more height like that. There's some shorter, there's more standard ones, and it's just mixing and matching to get through the Radley section as fast as possible. I think KBZ didn't like failing that wrong warp, so he just went through and beasted that section. That was amazing. That was very, very well done. Squawk's part isn't quite as bad. It gets a little bit dangerous. You take intentional damage there to speed through that section, and now you got to do kind of the ending of Squawk's just solo. Well, really the end of the level solo, but Squitter's part is free. Whoa! You want to take out the top B and just kind of squeeze through there. Unfortunately, knocked out the bottom B, and just out of habit, didn't notice it was the bottom B right away. All right, toughest part about Squitter is getting up in 3, which you did, and that's that. That was really, really good, KBZ. Like, really, really good. All right, so we're on... What?
Got a moment for me to read another donation?
Oh, yeah.
Traylina donates $19.21, presumably just to get on my tits. Knock, it's knuckles and knickers. Enormous time dickers, secretive nose pickers, virtual ass kickers. This is a donation incentive for Knuckles. Got it. Got you. Understood. I liked that one. That had rhyme. Even though I fucked it up, I'm very sorry.
That was really well. That was good. Good donation.
High quality donations in this marathon. I appreciate that. Well done, Treya.
All right. Ooh. So the big thing there is doing the race skip, which he got, but unfortunately lost his Kong. So he's gonna go for the tech? No. Okay. So a nice little mystery was solved a couple of months ago in how you can quickly do the ending of this without having to kind of double back and do a slight hesitation move, because how the game kind of determines whether or not you get the fanfare is it seems to look at your max height, which if you took the blast barrel, it puts your max height at a point where it's gonna trigger the fanfare if you just drop directly on it at the end. So since he went to get a Kong anyways, he's gonna have to do that little hesitation move you saw right there. But if he had kept his Kong and felt a little, felt confident, he could have tried to go through the level, saved a few frames by just falling on the goal right at the end, and would have been able to do it without triggering the fanfare. So here we are at the end of our glorious DKC2 run with our glorified auto-scroller. Not a whole lot to say about K. Rool here. He's very, at least in these first two phases, he's very straightforward. He's obviously not going to do anything different. The big time save here is doing what we call dustless and just having it timed so well that you throw the cannonball and it hits his cannon kind of precisely at the moment he starts vacuuming. A little bit of luck there with which cannonball turns into, or which spike ball turns into the actual cannonball, but nothing huge. Thank you. I think the impressive thing about this fight, especially when you've played it so many times, is you just recognize the order of, especially in this sequence, you recognize the order of the cannonballs, which ones are going to bounce really high, which ones are going to bounce low that you have to jump over. It's a fun fight in its own right, but it's not very challenging unless you make a mistake. Going for Blue Diddy here for the fans. Oh, and Blue Dixie. Look at that. What a guy. What a guy. So that's a cute little trick to maintain the blue color palette. I think it's at the cost of 7 seconds. No, Trey, it's okay. The more awkward numbers you give him, the better. You don't need to explain or apologize. It should have been intentional.
No, don't encourage. Actually, do encourage them. I don't mind that much. We have modern technology; it can add up decimal numbers. It's crazy.
Oh my goodness!
Newfangled computer things are amazing.
Just like that, we're coming up on time. When he gets the coin. That's a 43-48, based on what I'm saying. So that was just a really great effort all around. A very unfortunate mishap in Castle Crush was probably about 2 minutes of that time loss. That was a 41 pace run. All things considered, with that one unfortunate mistake included.
Should I have hit time?
Yes.
No one called time!
I said time when the coin drops. Someone's not listening.
Okay, guilty as charged.
Unbelievable.
I was kind of doing something else. Let's ignore the timer completely.
Right, look at that. UA's got my back. Look at that.
Right, so we have more Donkey Kong Country up next. Wow, who made this schedule? What a fool.
Yeah, both crows were also pretty bad. Not by any fault of KBZ's. They were just bad luck. I mean, sure, the timer is not cut the twig, but we all know you actually cut the twig, KBZ. You cut the twig after having to redo Castle Crush. Where can you find more info on the runners and commentary?
That is a good question. You do the spiel, because I don't actually know.
Wow, Goldfish, you don't want my information either? Well, you see there, it is twitch.tv/kbzonfc1. I don't know if that's actually words. Claude always says kbzonf, but yeah. That's my name. I'm Supreme. Hello.
I presume you're going to be staying on for the race.
Yep.
Great.
Yes, if you actually click that link that Totally posted, that actually does lead to the DKC wiki, in which you can learn more about how to run these games.
Wait, really?
Click the link.
No fucking way! I didn't know that. That's funny. Oh, dude. Oh, that got a real laugh out of me. Well played. Also, Radhu just donated $5 to say, put this towards Knuckles. Unlike Sonic, he don't chuckle. He'd rather flex his muscles. It's a round number. The precious round number. It adds cleanly. Knuckles is winning the donation incentive by about $11, shall we say. I cannot be bothered with the cents. So get those in before that run happens. It's getting surprisingly intense.